In the winter of 1949, in a quiet suburb outside St. Louis, Missouri, a 14-year-old boy would become the center of one of the most documented cases of alleged demonic possession in American history. The church later gave him a pseudonym to protect his identity, Roland Doe. What happened to him over the course of that winter would go on to inspire one of the most terrifying films ever made. But before it was fiction, it was a case file, a diary, a record kept by priests who believed they were fighting for a boy's soul. It began, as these stories often do, with grief. Roland's aunt, a woman deeply interested in spiritualism, had recently died. She had taught him how to use a Ouija board, and after her death, alone in his room, the boy tried to reach her. He wanted to say goodbye. Instead, according to his family, something else answered. The first signs were small, scratching sounds inside the walls, furniture that shifted on its own, chairs sliding across the floor, a heavy armchair tipping over as if pushed by invisible hands. Roland's parents, devout and frightened, began to notice something worse, dripping and scraping noises that followed the boy from room to room, as though whatever had entered the house was now attached to him specifically. They brought him to doctors first. Psychiatrists, neurologists, no one found anything wrong. They brought him to a Lutheran minister next, who witnessed the disturbances himself and, unable to explain them, urged the family to seek the Catholic Church. That was when Father Edward Hughes became involved, and the case moved from strange to something the family would never fully recover from. During an early attempted prayer session, witnesses claimed the boy's bed shook violently beneath him. Scratches appeared on his skin, red lines that spelled out words, and in some accounts, a location, the name of a place they had discussed sending him. Father Hughes reportedly had to stop the ritual altogether after Roland freed an arm and slashed him, requiring stitches. The church, cautious and skeptical by nature, nonetheless authorized a formal rite. This time, they turned to Father William Bowden, along with an assisting priest, and Roland was moved to St. Louis, away from his home, into the guarded rooms of a Jesuit-run hospital. What followed was recorded night after night in a diary kept by the priests present in the room. They wrote of the boy's voice changing entirely, dropping into tones that did not match his age or build. They wrote of him speaking Latin, a language he had never studied, respond correctly and mockingly to the priest's own prayers. They described the bed frame cracking under sudden invisible weight, the boy's body arching and thrashing with a strength that took multiple grown men to restrain. Objects were said to fly, lights flickered without cause, and each night, when the priests would begin the ancient rite, the disturbances would intensify, as if something inside the boy despised the sound of the words being spoken over him. The sessions stretched across weeks, more than 30 in total, spread between January and April of 1949. The priests were exhausted, the family was shattered, and still each night ended the same way, with prayer and with whatever answered back. Then, on the night of April 18th, in the final session, witnesses recorded that the boy suddenly grew calm. He reportedly said he saw a figure, one the priests believed to be Saint Michael the Archangel, standing at the foot of the bed, and then, as quickly as it had begun 10 weeks earlier, it was over. The scratching stopped. The voice returned to that of an ordinary, frightened teenage boy. Roland Doe grew up, married, had children, and lived what those close to him described as an unremarkable, quiet life. He rarely spoke of what happened that winter. The priests, however, kept their diary, and decades later that diary found its way into the hands of a writer named William Peter Blatty, who transformed the case into a novel, and then into the film that would terrify audiences around the world. To this day, the Catholic Church has never fully released its complete records of the case. Skeptics point to a troubled, attention-seeking boy, and priests eager to believe. Believers point to a stack of eyewitness testimonies, respected men of faith who swore, until the day they died, that what they saw in that room was real. Somewhere between those two accounts lies the truth of Roland Doe, a name given to protect a boy who, for one winter, became the most watched exorcism case in American history.